Amazing.
A Soviet tank crewman, charred and burnt to a crisp, still tightly clutched the control stick, maintaining a combat stance. Soldiers clearing the battlefield found him miraculously alive. On a long shot, they took him to a field hospital. After examination, doctors discovered the tank crewman had burns covering 90% of his body, concluding he wouldn't survive more than 2 hours. But to everyone's surprise, not only did the tank crewman survive, but in just 3 weeks, his body had fully recovered and new skin had grown. Unfortunately, the tank crewman suffered from severe amnesia. He didn't know his name, nor where he came from. He only remembered being a tank crewman. Based on information found in the tank's wreckage, people learned his name was Ivan. In his condition, he was originally deemed unfit for combat. However, with front lines desperate for soldiers and a severe shortage of tank crewmen, Soviet officers decided to send him back to the front. In the dense fog, a train loaded with soldiers slowly came to a halt. Seeing another train parked opposite, everyone present fell silent. The other train was filled with the wreckage of tanks destroyed by the Germans. These tanks looked like lifeless husks stripped of their former might. Just then, an officer approached. When asked by his superior, Ivan calmly stated,
Вот этот танк, его пантера подбила. Из засады выскочил.
Почему ты так решил?
Он мне сам рассказал.
Кто рассказал?
Танк. Этот танк.
The officer looked utterly incredulous. He quickly pointed to a nearby tank. Ivan looked back and said, that one was destroyed by the White Tiger. It's the same tank that destroyed mine. The officer, hearing this, thought Ivan was insane and should be sent to a psychiatric hospital. This was because, recently, a mysterious White Tiger tank had indeed appeared on the battlefield. It was like a ghost, appearing suddenly whenever the Germans were about to be defeated, then destroying all Soviet tanks before mysteriously disappearing again. The White Tiger's appearance was a massive headache for the Soviet high command. To completely eliminate it, the Soviets upgraded a T-34 tank and selected 3 of their best tank crewmen to operate it. 2 weeks later, an experimental T-3485 medium tank was born. The Soviets not only reinforced its armor protection but also upgraded its engine. The highly skilled Ivan was appointed tank commander, while the other 2 were the gunner and loader. But when the Soviet officers saw their unremarkable appearances, they immediately doubted their skills and decided to test them. They were tasked with hitting a barn 600 meters away with 2 shells. The 3 acted immediately, firing only 1 shot which accurately hit the target. The Soviet officers were very satisfied with this. Soon, the White Tiger reappeared, destroying 5 Soviet tanks and 4 self-propelled guns. Upon receiving the news, Ivan and his crew immediately set out, but the White Tiger had already vanished. The Soviets combed through every inch of the forest but found no trace of it, yet Ivan insisted it was still hiding within. To completely destroy it, the Soviets drove a modified T-34 into a mud pit, carefully covering it with branches. They then positioned another tank in an open area to act as bait, hoping to lure the White Tiger out. The tactic worked. Before long, the White Tiger slowly emerged from the forest, its massive steel body astonishing the Soviet officer. He quickly picked up his camera, wanting to take a photo to study later, but to his dismay, the camera wouldn't work. Meanwhile, the bait T-34 also spotted the tiger and immediately opened fire, but to their surprise, the T-34 fired 2 shots, both hitting trees. Although the 3rd shell successfully struck the tiger, it ricocheted without hitting a vital spot. The White Tiger immediately retaliated, firing just 1 shot that obliterated the T-34. Hearing the gunfire, Ivan immediately drove the modified T-34 through the bushes, rapidly approaching the White Tiger. After locking onto the target, Ivan fired 2 shots, both successfully hitting the White Tiger. But to their surprise, the enemy tank remained completely unscathed. Seeing the White Tiger's gun barrel now pointed at them, Ivan quickly maneuvered his tank behind the wrecked T-34, hoping to evade the Tiger's attack. Under the relentless barrage of the White Tiger shells, the decoy T-34 was instantly destroyed. In a critical moment, Ivan immediately reversed his tank, then quickly moved to the right, preparing to catch the Tiger off guard. However, at that very moment, the white tiger mysteriously vanished. The gunner cautiously exited the tank to check, but found nothing. But what they didn't know was that the white tiger was now directly behind them, its gun barrel already aimed. Once the smoke cleared, the white tiger had disappeared again. Fortunately, Ivan and his 2 crewmates were still alive. The Soviets immediately tracked the tiger's treads, but the trail vanished after leading them to a swamp. It was impossible for such a heavy steel behemoth to cross that swamp. Therefore, the Soviets concluded the white tiger must have sunk into the swamp, but Ivan insisted the tiger hadn't sunk and was instead hiding within the nearby forest. A few days later, the Soviets deployed dozens of tanks and artillery, launching a fierce bombardment on the German positions. After the shelling, all Soviet tanks immediately charged towards the German lines. However, at that very moment, the white tiger tank reappeared. Amidst violent explosions, dozens of T-35 tanks were instantly reduced to twisted metal. The battlefield became a scene of carnage, truly a living hell. Seeing the white tiger attempting to escape, Ivan immediately pursued it in his T-35. This time, he was determined to destroy it no matter what. Following the white tiger's tracks, Ivan arrived at a village. He knew the tiger had to be hiding there. After some searching, Ivan focused on a barn. He immediately ordered his crewmate to fire a shot at it. Indeed, a tank was hidden there. But it wasn't the white tiger. It was a regular Type 4 tank. The T-35 fired, completely destroying it. However, at that moment, Ivan suddenly realized something. He quickly turned his tank around. As expected, the white tiger was right behind them. The white tiger roared defiantly, pressing its attack. Ivan and his crew refused to back down. Both tanks fired simultaneously, but neither shot found its mark. Ivan quickly drove his tank into a nearby wooden house to take cover. The tiger immediately adjusted its gun barrel and fired again. Although the shell successfully hit the tiger's turret, it didn't destroy it. Ivan again drove his tank into the wooden house, successfully dodging the tiger's 3rd shell. While the tiger was reloading, Ivan quickly drove his tank out and fired directly at the tiger. Seeing the tiger's turret damaged, Ivan immediately accelerated, pursuing it. He was determined to completely eliminate the white tiger. Unexpectedly, as they passed through a mud pit, their gun barrel accidentally plunged into the mud, completely blocking the muzzle. After struggling out of the mud pit, the T-35 immediately aimed at the tiger and fired. With a deafening roar, the T-35's gun barrel catastrophically burst. Seeing the white tiger beginning to escape, Ivan quickly pulled out his pistol and started firing frantically at it. But this meager damage was utterly insufficient. They could only watch helplessly as the tiger drove away, powerless to stop it. The scene shifts. Germany had announced its unconditional surrender. Seeing Ivan repairing his tank, the officer told him the war was over. But Ivan replied that as long as the white tiger wasn't destroyed, the war would never truly end. Perhaps in 2050, or even 100 years, it would reappear. Hearing this, the officer could only turn and walk away in silence. But when he looked back again, Ivan and his tank had vanished. Hey everyone, today's movie trip is over. Thanks a lot for your likes and comments. Please subscribe to my channel. I'll bring more surprises next time. You're like Film Academy pros with deep insights and love for flicks. Your likes and comments are like the force, always be with me. You are the shining stars in my movie world.